Good evening. It is a truth universally acknowledged that every journey must come to an end. Tonight, my dear classmates, our graduation marks the conclusion of our high school adventures. For the past 4 years, we have been dreaming of this exact moment, of standing on this stage, of being quote-unquote free. We thought this day would never come. And now, it's here. Today we realize that for the past 4 years, that we have spent time idealizing this exact moment, we have not put as much thought into the ramifications of what is next. Who will we be now that we are no longer resting securely on the comfortable cushion that is high school? How will we manage now that we must do our own dishes and wash our own laundry? More importantly, what will we do when we enter an unfamiliar environment, no longer surrounded by our friends and family? Well, my fellow classmates, I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer these questions, at least not any more than the next high school grad. Well, I certainly have ideas of who I plan to be, what I plan to do. I have a clear vision of how these designs will play out in the foreseeable future. So, rather than speaking about our futures in a literal manner, I would like to reflect on them in a figurative manner. Consider our lives as novels, as poems, as plays and movies. We are the protagonists of our stories. We are also the authors, destined to tell the greatest story ever told. While we are not yet seasoned authors, our writing will become sharper as our voices become more pronounced. During our years of high school, we began the difficult process of developing our voices. We entered high school with wavering, shaking tones. Unsure of who we were, it was easy then to believe that if we opened our mouths, if we opened a pen, if we opened our minds, nothing would emerge. Gradually, we started listening to the sounds of other people's speech. We heard the faltering cadences of cohorts, and we wondered too if we might have voices of our own. We tried to find a hollow, empty room in the hopes that if we spoke loud enough, a sound would come ringing back and our voices would be found. It soon became apparent, however, that doing so only caused vibrations to bounce back into our ears. Thus, we kept on searching the cacophony of sounds. We immersed ourselves in the confusion of the competing sound waves. We took note of the inflections, of the distinctive accents of those around us, and we began to create our own. With every mistake we made, with every experience we had, with every time we fell and got back up, layers of depth were solidifying to form mature, unique voices. Speech that ranges from loud to quiet, serious to sarcastic, optimistic to cynical, and everything in between. Along the way, we realized that our inflections convey our convictions and reveal our dispositions. Now that we have identified the foundations of our voices, our next step is to begin penning our stories. As first-time authors, our writings are prone to be a bit shaky, and our stories may not have apparent direction. To guide us through this transition, I thought I would share some tips from some of my favorite works. Never take your scenery for granted. May your stories be filled with pages of details outlining a beautiful scenery you will always appreciate for its inherent beauty. See antagonists as people who challenge you to stand up for your convictions, and make sure you have good friends who will support you during all of those trials and tribulations. Always search for the green light, and dream both at night and during the day. Don't be afraid to ask yourself the big questions, like, if Mickey's a mouse, Donald's a duck, and Pluto's a dog, what's Goofy? Don't discount free verse as a valid form of poetry purely because it lacks rhymes. Hold on to everything Atticus said. Know in your heart that you are a Jedi, and the dark side of the force is never more powerful. And remember, in your story, you hold the conch shell, and your voice always matters. As we begin using our voices and writing our stories, we must still be cautious of never becoming static, docile characters. In a famous story we all know well, a young Esther seems like one such passive character. In the first few Kraken, readers have no reason to assume there is anything particularly special about this young woman. She barely speaks and instead follows her Uncle Mordecai's instruction to become King Ahasuerus' wife. She silently agrees to all of Mordecai's directives and seems destined to remain forever a pawn. Then there comes a turning point. Mordecai, knowing Esther, tells her that she has the capability to save the Jewish people, but if she doesn't act soon, someone else will surely take her place. He says, Ki im hacharesh tacharishi be'et hazot rebach v'hatzacha yamod layudim mimakom acher v'at ubit aviv tovetu umi yodea im la'et kazot higat lamalchut. If you hold your peace at this time, if you do nothing, then relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from a different place. But just remember, you are not exempt from this decree either. You're in it with us. So I want you to consider that this could be your destiny. You could have been made queen for this very purpose. At this moment, Mordecai provides Esther with the catalyst she needs to look inside herself and find her voice. Immediately following Mordecai's rebuke, Esther is calling the shots. Esther is planning the schemes. Esther is in control of her own story. Mordecai pushed Esther to find her voice. Once in power, Esther did not hesitate to write the tale. Throughout our years of high school, our families, friends, and teachers have encouraged us to search for our voices by requiring us to think critically and ask questions. Thus, inspired by our Mordecais, we have pondered history and halacha, Tanakh and technology, science and psychology, literature and life. All this time, we were testing our voices, sketching them out on the notebook of our high school years, waiting. We have been eagerly anticipating this moment for 4 years. Tonight, we close the book on high school. My friends, I have heard your voices, loud and clear, reverberating through our collective high school stories. Although our adventures may never again share the same setting, and our cast of characters will surely change, I am certain I will always recognize your voices. A new book is waiting to be written. The blank page beckons. I can't wait to read it.